Let's take a look at Southern society today and Southern culture in the 1800s. First of all, it's all slavery is the foundation of Southern society in many ways. However, slavery is not everywhere, and actually, most people in the South did not have slaves. Only about 1/3 of families had slaves, and about 1% of people are on these big, huge plantations that we read and hear and see in movies so much. Most people in the South were poor subsistence farmers, and they didn't have enough money for slaves. However, most Southerners did agree with slavery and supported slavery. The planters really set the tone for Southern culture and society. Although there were very few of them, less than 1% of the population were planters. These wealthy landowners with huge farms and many, many slaves really drove Southern culture. They were the people in power, the people of wealth, almost the nobility of the Southern society, and they even modeled themselves off of European nobility as well. The setup was, of course, based on racism. It was based on slavery. It was also based on sexism, where women didn't have very much power either. Men oversaw the slaves. Male slaves worked in the fields, of course, along with female slaves. Women slaves that were looked on favorably may work in the household. Women, the planter's wife and other women would work in the household and oversee the household as well. Of course, they built these large plantations with gardens and beautiful homes. There were tons of work to do on a plantation. Look at the size of these fields. Look at all the workers working. That's called gang labor, where the slaves would work in groups to get jobs done. We'll talk about that more in the future. All to be done by hand, as there was hardly any industrialization. There wasn't a whole lot of innovation. One of the things about Southern society is it didn't progress. It was stuck in the 1700s way of thinking, stuck in the 1700s lifestyle, and that did harm the South. Life lesson here: beware of isms. Sexism, racism, ageism, anything where you're discounting people because of who they are. It's going to hurt you and it's going to hurt society. The more we can value all people, the more we can get more opinions, the more we can get more people free, working, contributing, sharing ideas, the stronger our society will become. The more accepting you are and open to other people's ideas and different types of people, the more experiences you're going to have to make yourself stronger as well. So try to cut the isms out of your life, and hopefully as a country we can diminish the isms as well. Racism, sexism, ageism, etc. Everyone else in the South were yeomen or poor whites. Yeomen were people who had their own small farm and worked a small plot of land for subsistence farming, mainly growing staple or food crops. These people had a lot of pride in their work, but they had long, long days and many, many jobs to do. Beneath them were even the poor whites. These were just like farm hands or people that rented property trying to survive. These people often lived in very bad poverty, particularly in the mountainous regions where the growing land was not as good. Religion is very important in the South, and in the South, the Southern Baptist religion is most prominent. People would go to church on Wednesdays and most of the day on Sunday. The church would be the center of the community socialization, a place to socialize, meet people, make plans, all of that. Although most of the people were Christian, they still justified slavery in their teachings. There are a few cities in the South at the time, mostly along the Atlantic coast: Savannah, Charleston, Baltimore. And in the cities were fairly modern. In the interior, there were hardly any cities. And in the cities, the slaves over there did domestic work, but there also were free African Americans as well. Over 250,000 of them by 1860, many of them living in Maryland and Delaware on the border states, just into the South, where slavery didn't have as much of a stronghold. Also, several of them living in the southern cities as well. All these free African Americans faced horrible discrimination. They really had no rights, but at least they weren't in slavery. We'll talk about the slave system tomorrow.